Hey, Sunshines. So we're going to do a word problem. We have a company that makes wax candles in the shape of a cylinder, and they're melting down a rectangular block of wax. And we want to know how many cylinders we can make using that rectangular prism of wax. So first, we're going to find the volume of the rectangular prism. Because a rectangular block is going to be a rectangular prism. So rectangular prism looks like this if I don't press buttons. So it's 6 inches thick, so that'll be our height. And then the base is 12 inches by 48 inches, so that'll be the length and width. Length and width. So it's a prism. Volume equals the area of the base times the height of the prism. So the area of the base is 12 times 48, length times width. And so twelve times 48 is 576. And then my height is 6, so the volume is going to be 576 times 6, which equals 3,456 cubic inches. So you're supposed to be typing your work in here. This is the work. Obviously, you can't type the picture in, but this is the work that you're going to want to type in for this portion of the problem. Now, this is not your final answer. This is just the volume. This is just how much wax they have to start with, but it's a piece. So you would type it in, a wax block. So now I need to find the volume of each candle because I want to know how many candles I can make if I have 3,456 cubic inches of wax. So you should be doing this work on paper. If you run out of, so I'm out of space on my little notepad, so I'm just going to clear and delete. And so now I can start, now I'm gonna work on because I have my work over here already. So now I'm gonna work on my cylinder with a pen. So a cylinder is still base times height, but my base is a circle. The area of a circle is pi r squared. So the candle's height of 6 inches, and the radius is 2 inches. So base equals pi r squared. So pi 2 squared. So 2 squared is 4. but we'll do, so to type pi into the calculator is pi, you do the blue button, and then the little arrow key has a pi above it in blue. And then I want to do that times 2 squared, enter. So now I have an approximate value for this. You don't want to round intermediate steps very much. Personally, I would probably continue to use, I would prefer to continue to use this as 4 pi, but it's a little easier sometimes to think it out in as concrete numbers. So we're going to do our, so we want to leave more decimal places than we really want to, than we want to keep in the end. So 12.566 is way more precision than I actually need. But that way I'm not going to throw myself off, because if I just round that to 12, I might really mess up, or to 13, I might mess up my final answer. Specifically, I know I'm comparing it to this number. This is a 4-digit number. I want to make sure this is at least 4 digits, because when I go to divide, if I go to divide and this is way less precise than this, then I'm losing reliability in my answer. So I'm going to do this times my height. So 12.566. And I'm not even actually going to round it off. I'm going to just do this answer. So I've got even more precision in my actual calculation, times 6. Equals 75.398. So then I'm going to go type my work in. You can do this part directly typing in into your work if you're comfortable with it. But I think a lot of you are more comfortable working pencil on paper. So just do it out on paper and then type it in. So now we want to find how many candles we can make. We have this much wax, and this is how much wax per candle. So you're just going to do division. So I've got 3,456 cubic inches of wax. And this is how much wax per candle. So that's a rate. So I want to know how many candles. So if you're really actually multiplying it, you're dividing it by your rate. So it's times, it's 1 candle per 75.398 inches cubed of wax. That's kind of a weird way of thinking it out, but to me at least, it makes a lot more sense when I can go canceling out units. I want to know how many candles. This is one candle per this amount of wax, 75 point whatever cubic inches. So then inches cubed of wax cancels out because one is in the numerator and one is in the denominator, and I get a number of candles. So 3,456 over 75.398. And if you can do this intuitively, that's fine. You don't need to think it out like this, but if you have trouble keeping track of whether you're supposed to multiply or divide, then that's a tool to help you. But if you just do this part, that's fine. So, and I can cheat and go back in my calculator history and just, instead of typing it again, you can actually go up in your history and select your previous answers. So I get 45.8366 blah, 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 blah. That's 45 candles. Now, rounding, that would round up to 46 candles. But if I make 0.8366 candles, that's not a whole candle. I can't sell that as a candle manufacturer. I could, go make I could sell it as a different product, but if I'm specifically talking about that product, somebody's not going to pay the same amount for that. So if I only want that product, I'm going to save that wax to go in with the next block of wax. So for this case, when you're talking about how many you can make, you actually want to truncate it and only take the integer value. You don't want to round up, even if it's close to one extra. So my final answer is that there's 45 whole candles, and then there's just a little leftover wax that doesn't make a whole candle, so it doesn't matter. So it's only 45 whole candles. So there is the whole answer to the problem. So this is the work that you need to show. You don't need to draw it out on separate paper, but I think it really helps sometimes to draw out, especially with volume problems like that, where you deal with the figure. It helps to draw out the figure on paper. And sometimes it's easier to think out the work when you're drawing it out. I can write inches cubed instead of trying to write cubic inches out. So I know for me, I prefer to think it out this way. If you can type out all of your work and think it out that way, then that's great. But especially with standardized testing, it's really important to make sure that you know what you're doing and that you follow through and get all of it. And if visualizing it in a different pattern than what you can type helps, then do it on scrap paper and then type it in. So have a good day, sunshines.